some things I like doing, and I don't like it. It feeds my ego sometimes. So I try to control that too. So how are we supposed to?
Well, you're in trouble then, because what you just said to us, and we don't mean you're in trouble, we mean that's the hard way of going about it. Because what you're saying is, I'm not going to allow myself to care about what I want or how I feel. Thank goodness for ego, which is your personality focused here and now. How are you going to focus anything into being if you're not an evaluator? You know how we can match you the best way in what you mean by ego? Because we don't mean the same thing by ego that you mean by ego, but it's all right for you to mean what you mean by ego. So here's how we're going to match what you mean by ego and put it into a really good perspective for you. Ego is, there's a right and a wrong, and I will find the right, and I will teach it, and I will promote it, and I will support it. In fact, I may very well just demand it. That's ego. Where alignment is, I'll live it, I'll evaluate it, I'll ask for what I want, I'll reach for the thoughts that lead me in that direction, and I'll know it when I see it. If we were to define ego or egotistical, we would say ego is an awareness of me in the physical form and my willingness to carve out my preferences and my expectation that my preferences will be answered. But that's different from I know what's right, and I will make sure that what I think happens and everybody else is wrong. That's when that ego thing shoots you in the foot. Let's call ego focus. Ego is a lot about observing. Ego is a lot about showing up with my bag of marbles and into a law of attraction field where a bunch of other people are there and really caring what others think about me. Calibrating to others rather than calibrating to who I was even before I got here and what I've added to it ever since. That's the best way of describing ego in a way that is helpful and not. If my ego is calibrated to other humans, oh, that'll just make you crazy. To need to gather the attention of others and their approval, oh, that's a very hard thing. But to calibrate to your own inner being, oh, that's just a few seconds job, and you get better and better and better and better at it. And when you tap into that knowledge, because you made it sound a little bit, and it isn't anything like this, you made it sound a little bit in your opening question like you had it all figured out and all pre-planned, maybe even all predestined before you came into your experience. And so now, how do I know? How do I know? How do I know? And it's unsettling to humans to realize that it's completely open-ended because you are a creator. It'd be like going to an art class. They called it a creative art class. And you go in there and they've got 3 colors and 1 canvas, and they give you the subject that you're supposed to paint. And then they critique you on how much you make yours look like the one that they're holding up as the example. And you say, this didn't feel like the creative place that I thought I was coming to. It's like somebody else has decided what I should paint and what color it should be and how big it should be and whether I did a good job or not. A lot of people think that that's what they want. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Just tell me how to be good and I'll just be good like that. Then you dive into an experience like that, and before you know it, you're not having a very good time. You start questioning the wisdom of the people that are telling you what to do, because they don't seem to be able to calculate everything that matters to you. They don't remember what you were living when you were 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. They have no sense of what's in your vortex. They have no relationship between what you're living and what you've put into your vortex. They don't know your inner being. They can't feel the frequency of your inner being. In other words, that's just not working for anybody. It is amazing how many people still try it that way. Try to influence the masses and get them to agree with me. That's the hardest job in the world. We've teased with you. We say, make a big poster or get it online in some way. Put your face on the poster, really good representation of you, and say, to all people of the world that I might run into, when you meet me, this is what I need from you in order for us to have a good experience. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Because first of all, nobody's looking at your poster. You're not that important to them. And even if they were, it's a lot to read and a lot to figure out, and you're not even sure of most of it anymore. It's stuff you've been dragging around for a long, long time. Or you could just look for things right here and right now that feel pretty darn good. and do your best to hold yourself in that frequency, and then just watch what happens. Because like attracts like. That's what law of attraction says. That which is likened to itself is drawn. When you get on that good feeling end of the stick, the law of attraction will bring you more like that and more like that. Someone the other day asked such an important question about particles. He said, I understand from my scientific background, this is good, you'll like this. From my scientific background, he said, I understand that when a particle is introduced to another particle, that just the existence of the other particle affects the other particle. He was really talking about power of influence. And we said, well, we know it looks like that, but you got to step back into a bigger law first. Why was the second particle introduced to the first particle? It wasn't because they were different. It's possible it could be question and answer, but it was a vibrational match. And the law of attraction brought it together, which means the two particles now are more than the one particle was, and that's what the change is about. Can you get that? You didn't come with predetermined decisions. You came knowing that anything and everything was an option for you. Talk about freedom to choose. And you knew that when you chose, even if you were choosing what you didn't want, you knew that that was the same thing as choosing what you did want. You knew that those different ends of the stick, that the problem was creating the solution in proportion. And you knew that your inner being, who never looks back and who never asks for justification, who never tries to strong-arm anything, you knew that your inner being would be focused upon what is wanted, and you knew that the law of attraction would bring it together. In other words, you knew those laws, and you knew this guidance system, and there's not one of you that was born not knowing how you feel. You can deny it. You can pretend it. You can override it with things that you've decided are more important, because being right is more important than how you feel. But once you get hold of this and you care about how you feel, that's when you start demonstrating through the way life connects the dots for you. You're not ever going to figure it all out, but we really like it when you reach this place. In fact, we're going to set this up for you in a really strong way, because we want you to hear this. When you understand the power of now, and you have this sense of your inner being and your relationship with your inner being, and you care about how you feel, and you show yourself that really it's as easy to choose a good feeling thought than not one when you're in that sort of neutral place. In other words, you come out of meditation, you've got lots more latitude in your choices, and you start associating how you feel with what you're thinking about. But then even more, you start associating what's manifesting, what's turning to things in your life based upon the way you're feeling. Then you settle in to this familiar, because your inner being has felt it the whole time you've been in your body, this familiar feeling of invincibility. Not egotistical invincibility, but just certainty, well-being. And then you become a lot more playful, because you're not pushing against the negative what ifs. If you never heard anything like this from us or anybody else, it really wouldn't matter that much, because you were born with a guidance system, and you were born with this gravitation toward good and what feels good, and love and what feels like love. In other words, that's the way you're wired. And so let's say that you're born into an environment and you don't get this figured out, and you have a hard time while you're in your body and you croak, and you leave behind all of that. You still have benefited and added value to everything that is, because you created the vortex version through what you were living. So we don't talk to you because there's something that you need to do, or because there's something that's going wrong. The reason that you gravitate to us is because we know that life is supposed to feel good to you, that that is what is natural, and that not feeling good is unnatural. And as you leave this gathering just feeling a little more that way than you were before, you're going to see the evidence of it, because the law of attraction is always precise. Always, always, always precise. You can't get it wrong, and you never get it done. And the reason you can't get it wrong is because it isn't done. So even though it feels really wrong and really unpleasant, it isn't done. And if you know that it isn't done and that you can't get it wrong, maybe you'll be willing not to struggle so hard against it. You'll be willing to take another tack for it, you see. We don't want to sound like we think the world is in trouble. It isn't. We don't want to make it sound like you all got to do some good work or things are not going to go well. They're going to go well. We just don't think that you should have to croak in order to feel better. We know you will for sure when you do, but we think that you should get to be in this body and connect with what you really know. And even though we can't find the words to guide you there explicitly, we can help you to be aware of what that feels like. And we know for sure that when you start resonating in that energy and you start feeling that way, that the evidence of that will begin to be your dominant experience. You said, I'm going to go into a physical body. And we said, we appreciate that so much. And we said, we're going to stay in non-physical. And you said, I appreciate that so much. And you said, I'm going to go mix it up with a lot of diversity. And we said, we're going to maintain what we know as the goodness that you're looking for ultimately. And you said, I'm going to go and I'm going to know what I don't want. And we said, that's really good, because in knowing what you don't want, you are going to emanate, exude, offer a vibration that is precisely what you do want as you precisely live what you don't want. And we're going to hone in on that. And then we all agreed on this important thing. And then we said, and the law of attraction is going to respond to the dominant vibration. And we said, and we are going to be the dominant vibration because we live in a realm where there is no resistance. And you said, but I'm going to a realm where there is resistance. And we said, yes, because you're step one. You are experiencing the resistance in order to choose, but you have guidance to let you know that once you have chosen, if you will turn your attention to what you have chosen, it will start feeling really good. And you said, I think I have the best game in town. And we said, we think we have the best game in town. And you said, but I think I have the best game in town because I get to explore and I get to be the reason for the expansion. And we said, yes, but you expand and we ride the rocket of your expansion, and then we get to experience the ultimate culmination of what you have asked for just moments before you do. And you said, yes, but then I get to catch up with it. And then we said, yeah, and when you catch up with it, you get to feel like we feel. And that's what that positive emotion is. When you feel that love, that's you returning to the wholeness. To the wholeness of what? To the wholeness that you caused. To the wholeness that you created. To wholeness that wouldn't exist if you hadn't been willing to come. Do you understand the perfection of our relationships?
It just works symbiotically.
Eternally.
Yeah.
Eternally. We want to end with this one very important thing. There is nothing serious going on. There is great love here for you. And for now, we are complete. I liked it a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.